Welcome back to Sims Complete. I'm your host, Matt Sims, alongside Phil Sims, a part of the Believe Sports Network. Brought to you by FanDuel. And as you can see, Big Phil is already just like, why did I sign up for this show with my son? But hey, Big Guy, can you just tilt your camera down just a little bit so we can stay on an even keel here? That a boy. Look at that. Look at that. Two Sims souls there.
Hey.
What's up? Talk to me.
You're all tanned. I'm sitting here whiter than a ghost, but this is the way I want to be. So
do you have makeup on right now, Big Guy?
No.
You sure? Do I?
I don't think so.
You got some good color on your face too.
No. I wiped it down.
Wiped it down.
Well, my skin gets
nitroglycerin.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. It's good to feel good. Don't bring me down. God damn, I worked all day, worked out, got you here. You just got in town, so you're showing a little toughness.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
And the other thing is, I said to somebody the other day, I said, the draft, I love watching it. I love it.
Yeah.
But damn.
What?
I'm just sick of it right now.
I know. We are at that time, right? It's legit. Yeah. There is a fatigue, I feel like, that sets in. The conversations at this point are just it's nauseating, right? Because now you could just feel it when people are talking about breakdowns of positions. Now the receiver group seems to be the attractive group to talk about because there's not much to talk about with the quarterback class, right? Especially because they're outside of the first round, a lot of them, right? Yeah. So that kind of takes away a little bit of the shininess to the draft and to some degree. But the QB debate is interesting. I mean,
it is. But, just to go back to it, I think once the initial burst of taking the QBs, I love sitting there going, when's so-and-so going to go?
Right.
And there's a big group of guys that are going to make teams somehow, either on the roster or on the practice squad. And there's a lot of them, a lot of quarterbacks out there that have got certain qualities that are going to give them a chance to have success in the NFL.
Right.
So So that's going to be fun. And I always think I've learned, whatever you think the round they're going in, just go one more deeper. Because I think, the third round, they'll take all these quarterbacks. Nope. In the fourth round, nope. Fifth round, maybe. It's tough. It's tough. It really is. But, the quarterback thing right now, it's like you heard me talking before we came on the air or whatever when you figured out what was going on your end.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson, the what's the word for it? What's out there now? I feel it. I hear it. I kind of know what some of these people are saying.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden, right now, they're making me think that he is going to go in the first round. And
well, there's no doubt that he is a first-round talent quarterback, right?
No doubt.
And that's the thing too. We have to keep that in mind, right? He is a first-round quarterback as far as his talent goes. It's one of those interesting situations, and I've talked about this with Bob Papa on SiriusXM. We've had this conversation as well, that it's a weird, strange year for the position. Of course, there's always the it's shinier over there in the distance, right? And then there's just a lot of places right now in NFL rosters where spots are taken and teams have some needs in other positions that are kind of ranking a little bit higher, right? Because they have a veteran quarterback, they have a presence, they have a deeper room, and there isn't such a desire, right, for some of these franchises to say, oh yeah, we need another young guy, right? Yeah. So, and that's where I think the hometown team potentially could be the team, right, that makes the splash with Ty Simpson. We know it's not the Browns this year. I'd be shocked, right? But and they're always in the running for a quarterback. So not this year, but next year, right? So we'll get them back in the mix as far as that conversation goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was more teams than the media was alluded to that are interested in Ty Simpson and are kind of just hoping that he maybe falls into their lap as the draft goes on.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on that. And of course, the whole talk, well, he's only 6'1". Okay, which
go. You ripped this off earlier when we were talking. This was fantastic by you, big guy.
Here we go. Quarterbacks under 6'2" in the NFL: Kyler Murray, Gardner Minshew, Tua. Sorry, I'm going to say his name. Tua. Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, 6'1", Dylan
Wow.
Gabriel, Sam Howe, Sam Ellinger, Stetson Bennett, Malik Willis, Tommy DeVito, Spencer Rattler, Zappy, forgot his first name,
Bailey. Yeah.
Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, Cam Ward.
Wait,
Oh,
you said Jalen Hurts?
6'1".
That's what he's listed as?
Yeah, I looked it up. I said,
That's amazing. And even when you said Caleb Williams there too,
yeah.
that's surprising as well. Now, that goes to show you, though, too, that list you just said, not all 6'1s are equal. Okay.
No,
Because
look, I just do it to prove a point and we're making such a big deal, literally out of 1 inch. Now, I will say this. Oh my gosh.
right.
I'll say this though,
Yeah.
for Ty Simpson.
Right.
It's about the show, the combine. It's the beauty pageant.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Weighed 215 pounds. 215's got another number to it besides 211. It's another, wow, okay, it's 215. I just think that.
No, I know. You're right, though. It is real. It is like that line of demarcation, right, is real. And it's like when you get past 215, all right, you're like in another category as far as like how you're viewed size-wise in the NFL. Yeah.
Isn't it terrible? Yeah, if I knew him really well, I'd go, hey, man, come on. Stuff it. Eat as much as you can.
Well, it's funny too, because then like we talk about tackle position, they're like he's 340, and then the next guy is like he's 350. It's too heavy, too heavy. He's sloppy, So it's very funny how that goes.
That's another thing, this week. I'm not going to go over it because I just don't want to. Offensive tackles in the draft, and it's Matt. It's amazing. None of them are sloppy. So that's one thing. They're just big humans.
Right.
You go back, and I like to look at the numbers a little, just it tells maybe a story, and it's amazing. It seemed like every old lineman that was good, he ran 4.93, 4.94. Everybody was a 4.9. It was unbelievable. But how impressive it is to see a guy 350, 330, laser running a 4.9. I mean, come on, So those things, and I love reading that. I like reading that. Now let's take it, and I don't live and die on it, but it tells me something.
And it really is something that people really can't appreciate what that number really means and what it signifies, right? As far as the athleticism goes. And the other thing that's interesting too is the 10-yard splits. That's where you really realize linebackers that like, oh yeah, he used to play running back. Hey, this guy, he used to play receiver. It's like, hey, this offensive lineman, he used to be a high school quarterback. Like it makes sense because the 10-yard split. And this is something that even Chris Sims would say, right? Your son, my brother, right? He would say that Warren Sapp would challenge every damn player on the football team in a 10-yard sprint and say that he would win, right? And like even against guys like Joey Galloway, who we know can run. So it's just an unbelievable display of athleticism that we see throughout just all the position groups where you're at, especially with the big boys up front. And that's what this draft's about. It's about the big boys. It's about the trenches. It's about just a good old fashioned like football players.
Sure.
And I know that it's been classified as a draft that maybe isn't the most sexiest across the board as far as the players' names and all that kind of stuff, and really just the crowns that the media has given these players, right? But there's a lot of just old school football players that I think will be playing a long time in this draft.
Yeah, what I like and I love, always read about their history and everything, just to feel what is he, who is he, and everything. And I see the guy, I forgot, I'm not going to say it, a couple offensive linemen. There was two.
Yeah.
There was two defensive tackles that ran into 4.9s. That was something. But also, I think the big thing was I read their history and they were good basketball players and I just go, wow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine high school? You got a guy 6'7", 350, and he's a good athlete. He can run, and you got to guard him. Oh my gosh. It's great. The athletic part of in the world of football just gets better and better. And I just wonder, where is it going to go? Can we keep every year the league gets faster? It might get a little smaller too, but not much.
Yeah. Well, those things are, it's a fashionable thing, right? As far as just body types, positions. And it's like right now, yeah, the fashion is a little bit of like, hey, the Seattle Seahawks, what'd they do? 4 defense linemen, 2 backers, right? Big nickels, guys that can kind of play
Yeah.
multiple positions. And right now, that's where the state of football is at, right? That it's a little bit more of just we need guys that can do a little of everything, not just one thing well.
Yeah.
Right. And but hey, speaking of big guys, right? And like you mentioned, there's a lot of good interior defensive linemen in this year's draft, right? And that's definitely a position too that I think a lot of people are overlooking and are going to be maybe a little bit surprised too with just some of those guys flying off the board sooner than people are maybe discussing in the big media scheme, right?
Yeah.
Some names in that department. Caden McDonald at Ohio State, my God. I mean, just unbelievable. A human anvil. Good luck. All right. Line him up, you know.
I got some good notes on him. Yeah. Pushing some offense, whatever. Pushing.
That wasn't English. Try again.
No, because I want to shorten it up. Pushing offensive linemen around like they're still in high school.
Yeah, that's for real. That's legit.
And, and of course, there's some plays. Of course, he gets double teamed and all that. But I watched him in some against Texas, and Texas's offensive line, Jesus almighty, is it big?
Yeah.
That was a great battle to watch. And
yeah, I mean, they had a big offensive line. I don't say they necessarily that was early on in the season, so I feel like they still kind of like they were figuring it out. But that was an offensive line that, as the season progressed, we found out really had some struggles. Right, they couldn't really identify who that group was. But yeah, that was the beginning of Caden McDonald essentially saying like, "I'm the best defensive tackle in college football," because it continued on throughout the season.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the other ones. Caleb Banks, I watched.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, 6'6", 327. And he broke the code. He ran 5:04 in the 40. Yeah, well,
now
stuff to move.
Yeah, now here's his 10-yard split, a 1.7, right? And let's just go as an example here. Let's go to some of the quarterbacks here, and or just another position group in general, right? We're not going to compare him to Jeremiah Love. That's just cruel, right? But we can do some others here as far as just like comparisons at the position. 176 is what he ran, right? And then I'm trying to find some others here just to compare it. But still, like, that just shows you how fast and aggressive he is. Now, he ran a 176, right?
Right.
Averill Reese, right? One of the most athletic guys in the draft, 158, right? And the difference in weight is essentially 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So, like, that just goes to show you that, like, big man is getting off the football very quickly, very suddenly, right? With that frame that he has.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's what the combine this year. I don't know if we ever even got into that. Every group, secondary, corners, tight ends, running backs, wide receiver, as a group.
Yeah.
But all those groups was the fastest ever at the combine. So it's the way the league is, big and fast. And it's, you see certain players, certain quarterbacks. I always say this a lot. I wish I could be around these quarterbacks more. I'd say, when you go home and you got a month of downtime, and when you go to train, it's all about speed. I mean, hell, you already can throw the ball great. It doesn't matter. You get warm up. Oh yeah, I got it. I warmed up through 5. I'm ready to go. But running, because you don't want it to go down at all. Try to hang on as long as possible, because what's the defense doing? Every year keeps going, gets faster every year.
Well, that's the truth for every quarterback and really everyone within the NFL, because as their physical traits slowly start to kind of leave them, right? The football IQ and the professionalism is what separates them, right, from the people they're competing against, right? And then, of course, the savviness of just being a veteran. I'm sure the 1986 version of Phil Simms could just talk circles around the 1979 version of Phil Simms in the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay.
At Morehead State, we had one play action pass. One.
Well, there you go. And it's really not about the play action pass that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
it's the hair, it's the talk, it's the dialect. All right. You gotta had to get a dialect coach there in New York City back in the day.
Yeah. If you go back to my rookie year, for anybody, and you listen to me on TV, Blue 7-7. Blue 7-7.
I mean,
My grandson, Philip,
Yep.
was listening to one of the games. He goes, "Wow, Grandpa, you really talk like you're from way down south or whatever," because it was so clear, but it was pretty funny.
It was, and just to mention a few other defensive tackles, right? As far as this conversation goes, right? Caden McDonald is to me the best interior defensive lineman in this year's draft class, and really just an unbelievable guy that can hold up against two offensive linemen at the same time. When he's in one-on-one situations, he can absolutely disrupt and win in pass rush situations as well. And he really is just going to be, I think, at the NFL level, right, a master of just creating havoc, right? And that's the biggest thing that always is the discussion point for interior defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And really a big coaching point is we just want disruption. We just want you to just penetrate into the backfield and just ruin everything. And it doesn't even matter if you get the tackle, right? Someone else will clean it up. And guys like Caden McDonald, Peter Woods out of Clemson, Caleb Banks out of Florida, like you mentioned, and then Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. Really good football player that did a little of everything for them as well. And then Christian Miller out of Georgia. Who,
I watched him.
Man,
very impressive.
Very impressive. And you just know too, like for Christian Miller, Kirby Smart football player, right? So we already know, like, this guy knows how to practice like a pro. He knows how to bring the energy. He knows how to get after it. And then again, just the ultimate disruptor as far as his length and his ability to throw people off, right? When he's engaged, right, with his hand strength.
You know, when you talk about Caden McDonald, I you know me and you see it. I make a lot of stupid things on my sheets as I watch, and I always like to give counts. Did he get blocked or did he get off the block quickly? And I had 17 straight. He got off the block. They couldn't stay with him at all.
Yeah.
And they couldn't move him. When they did kind of catch on a little bit, he's such a, it looks like a really natural athlete who is really strong and quick. You know, just watching these D linemen, you know, it's not one of my favorite things to do, but because I just judge just about you just heard about all I know about talking about D linemen right there.
I mean, we know more about being hit by them than we do about just the technical abilities of what makes them special, right? But either way, you know, Caden McDonald and what he displayed on film and why he really is, I think, in a tier above everybody else at this position, right? Is the fact that he took up two blockers, it seemed like, every single play, right? And there's a reason why Sonny Styles and Averill Reese flash constantly on film, right? With just open gaps, because they can't move past him to get to that second level. And when they try to get there, that's when the speed and suddenness of those other two guys really overwhelm people. So you're going to see the entire Ohio State defensive group essentially be drafted in the first round here in the next few days.
But, you know, you said something right from the start. Look at the Seattle Seahawks. Look what they did. And
Leonard Williams. Yeah,
and just the big tackles. And, you know, I've told this story, but I like, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Coach Earl Leggett, big old country defensive line coach. He was out with the Raiders with Howie Long and that whole group. He came to New York with Dan Reeves. And one day we're in the weight room working out. He was just talking to people. And I don't know, we got talking about something. He goes, you know, now, Sims, what you need in defense, I just need two hogs right there.
Right.
He goes, and you know, I want them, you could show a double feature on both of their asses. That's who I want in there.
I mean, and you know, and that's
true.
It's true, you know, and like Leonard Williams is a great example of that. And the other guy too, that like people I feel like kind of lose sight on too, but really made a huge impact again as being an occupier of space and people, is Byron Murphy, second, out of Texas, second-year football player. And that's something we got to keep in mind, and something that you've always educated me on, right? Is that just like, and Leonard Williams is a perfect case as far as this discussion. You know, these D linemen, they probably won't really hit their peak until their third or fourth year in the league, right? Because it's just, they can absolutely be disruptive like a Jalen Carter and get off the ball and do all of that. But then there's also just the the general awareness and savviness and just situational football on top of that, that
Yes.
really is just different at the NFL level. They're going to be schemed up in ways that they've never seen before. They're going to be blocked and attacked from angles, right, that are unfamiliar to them, right, with some of the schemes that they see at the NFL level.
Yeah.
And of course, just the quality of the players doing it and working cohesively, right, on certain running attacks is different, right? So, all these guys will kind of have some of those growing pains, but we know for sure the guys that we mentioned, like Peter Williams, like Caden McDonald, right? They can hold down the front and at least, again, just occupy bodies in that interior part of the defensive line.
Yeah, interior defensive lineman is Bill Parcells kind of taught me about that. He says, look, besides quarterback is probably the toughest position to come in the NFL because you said it. You're here. I'm right. Oh, I'll get ear hold. The double teams that you see constantly. And most of these guys, Matt, as you're talking about, as I watched them mostly today, they dealt with double teams. It seemed like about 70% of every play.
Yeah, right.
The offense knew who we locking in on, and they picked Cade McDonald. Yeah, he was picked on. He got double teamed almost every play of the whole games I was watching.
Right.
So it's tough. It's tough physically, but it's mental too. Even talking about D linemen like that, who they are. Yeah, it's still mental because they got to know what to do, what's happening, and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. And it was fun to watch them. It really was.
It really is. It is super fun because it is a little different. It gets you out of the mode of just looking at the finesse players on the outside and just like, oh yeah, all these great things. And then you get back in the trenches and you realize, yep, this is what football is really all about. This is the difference between good teams and bad teams and what really goes down, right? It happens with those trenches. Big Guy, you mentioned earlier to me, you wanted to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks that you believe, right, can have an impact this upcoming preseason. And these are guys that maybe had a little bit more hope and optimism to being higher up in this year's draft class, right? It didn't pan out that way for some of these individuals, but you believe that there's a few guys that really can make great impacts for football teams in preseason football and creating a little bit of a buzz for themselves.
Well, first, this is a little off what you're asking. I know what you're asking. I'll answer it. But just watching the championship game and all that with Carson Beck, and I was watching it.
Right.
For some reason, I just went, man, I have really underplayed what he is. And, he throws the ball. It's always a beautiful throw, the spiral. He can put power on it if he needs it. And, what did it, he ran around more than I just remember.
Right.
I guess I just thought, well, he's not that athletic, so I won't pay attention. No, I did. And it just hit me. Matt, he's at Georgia. He gets hurt. It's taken away from him. I've said this story and I really believe it, but he goes to Miami and he goes, I really do like football a lot. Mm-hmm. And he went out there and showed them and practiced all summer long, all season long. And he played really well. And he hung in there in many games, tight games where they won because of him. And he is big with a good arm, moves a little more than people give him credit for. So his transition should be okay, shouldn't be too hard. But the guys you asked me about, the guys that really know how and put years into working the college team and what they do on the offensive side, all that, and they get it. They know where to go with the ball. They probably don't have a big-time skill where you say, we're going to draft this guy. But those two guys are Cade Lubnick and Luke Altmaier.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going to go into camps. They're going to study, know what to do. Yep, I'm going to find the right guy. I'm going to throw it to it. And the coach will go, damn, this guy, man, he just knows how to play. He knows how to play.
Right.
So I was stumbling everywhere trying to get to that. But, man, a lot of thoughts go in my head. And I tell you, I forget, what am I talking about? But, yet when you watch them play, they do everything kind of the right way. You can tell they train hard. You can tell they're smart because they make great decisions. And they're leaders of the team that, we don't talk about that enough sometimes. They got that personality. And they're going to do it with grit and just they're well-trained. and that will show in training camp, rookie camp. I mean, they're going to crush it probably because, hell, college football is probably a little harder than some of the mini camps and training camp they could face. So that'll be interesting to see them. They got lost in the shuffle. Everybody thought they were going to be first round pick, second round pick. And I'm sure it's rough on the family, rough on them that it didn't quite turn out the way that they thought it would. But who cares? You're starting over. Show them what you got, and I think they both will. So it'll be interesting to follow them during the preseason.
Yeah, I like those two picks, Big Guy, and I understand why you pick those two out of this group, right? As far as being able to kind of play that NFL style, right? And to be able to adjust to it quickly. The other guy that I'm going to throw into that is Joe Fagnano out of UConn.
Yeah.
He's another guy that, like, I would not be shocked if him, Luke Allmeyer, Cade Klubnik, all had pretty decent moments, right, or flashes in preseason because, one, they're decent athletes, right? They, especially Klubnik and Fagnano, right? They can stand tall and be a physical presence in the pocket, right, and make some good throws. And we know how unpredictable offensive line play is in preseason games.
Oh, yeah.
And now this is also where Luke Altmaier, with a little bit of his backyard style, maybe a Jeff Garcia-like style in the preseason, right? Wow, what a throwback there.
You did.
And listen, if you haven't seen young cats out there, if you've never seen Jeff Garcia highlights, go check it out. But like Luke Altmaier kind of has like a little bit of a style that way, right? Where like he can play that way in preseason football games with the scrappiness, throws a good spiral, above average athlete, moves well in the pocket, makes clean decisions. And I think really just like his lack of size and presence is something that kind of pops out when you watch him on film. But I totally agree with all three of those guys, or the two that you mentioned and the one that I added to this conversation.
Yeah. Altmaier, it's and his arm's a little better than I saw it in person.
Yeah.
But I did and I didn't because I was 799 feet up in the air trying to do a game there in Illinois. And I think it looked good.
You're right.
Yeah, I don't see these guys in college football. I don't see how they do some of them. The booths are so high. How can you see? In the NFL, I never had to do anything. Just open up the thing. Oh, there they are. Because the booths were really so much closer.
Right.
Oh, well. What are you going to say? I interrupted you.
No. I think like that. Those are two really interesting quarterbacks to kind of keep your eye on, right? And I think that you're seeing exactly what I see and some others do as well. It's just like you can't do anything about the fact that they've played a lot of football. That's really what it comes down to. They've gotten a lot of experience. They're starting quarterbacks. They had essentially the whole organization on their shoulders. Like I think about Cade Klubnik and how refreshing it'll be for him to some degree to walk into a locker room and be like, no one is expecting anything of me today. Right. Like, and I honestly, like, I know that might sound like a little deflating as I say that, but as a player that's trying to get back into whatever his groove is, that is a very empowering feeling of knowing that like all the cards are in my hand and all I got to do is just go out there, do my job as clean and as simple as possible, which is a tall task, but still his experience and what he's been through and that resilience that he showed and how tough last year was for him, I think will pay off for him in his NFL career.
Hey, he was too late to the party there.
Yeah.
All those teams. And when he got to be the quarterback, there was no doubt that the talent of Clemson's team went down.
Just a year ago, though, right? 2 years ago, he was playing phenomenal football for Clemson.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they were in the playoffs.
Yeah, and a few plays away, if Clemson could just play a little defense, right, they maybe sneak out of Texas with a big-time win where he plays phenomenal. He really does. And his athleticism showed. His athleticism showed. His arm strength showed. And I know one thing. He didn't throw a lot of spirals in college. You know why? Because the Nike football stinks. All right? But the NFL, he's going to throw some more spirals consistently because the Duke is meant to spin. Right.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
It is true. It is true.
That's something, people don't take it for granted when we talk about this. Throwing the NFL football, you could be over here throwing with a sixth grader and his football, something happens, you give him an NFL football, he goes, oh, I like this.
No one invented the NFL football. It literally just came down from God and was like, but that's what I think is interesting too. And like, that's why I get excited for guys like Mendoza, Ty Simpson, and just even guys like Taylon Green. Like they're going to be better throwers in the NFL just because of the ball alone to some degree. But, that's where I am so impressed with Carson Beck and what you mentioned earlier. And, I'm glad you mentioned him too. I almost was like questioning myself a little bit with my evaluation because I was very high on Carson Beck throughout the season at Miami.
Right.
Even when people were kind of taking shots at him after the SMU game and all of that, I still was just like, man, I don't know. This guy 3 years in a row threw for 3,000 yards, did it in the SEC 2 years, then did it in the ACC for a new team with a whole new scheme and got it done. And yet for whatever reason, we have other people projected ahead of him, and I find that a little strange. So I think a lot of that has to do with maybe things outside of the game, right? Like you mentioned earlier, but the stuff on the field, I mean, it's legit to me. And in a lot of ways, I really do think that he is the third best quarterback in this year's draft class.
Yeah, I didn't have him. I don't know if I had him third when we did our rankings. I think it might have been fourth. I'm not
honestly sure. If we did it again today, I would definitely have a different list than what I had.
Me too. I would definitely have Carson Beck number 3.
And isn't that funny? So like here we are, two former quarterbacks, or like you, and then whatever I tried to do, and then here we are with changing how we feel about, I don't know, one of the most important positions in sports.
Well, I think there's many things. I think we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Not on TV a lot, of course, too. And we like what we do and we do this.
Yeah.
And I think my first thought is, okay, Carson Beck. Let me just see.
Yeah, right.
I can do that. And I did it a couple of times, and a little bit I did it to him. And then, of course, just by accident, I hear people who know that tell me things. I go, wow, I'm a jerk, because he's of course, a different person on the field with you guys than what I expected by just kind of following him in his career. And
when Mario Cristobal says that Carson Beck is playing better than Cam Ward for our football team, that says a lot. And a lot of it, like, I understand why he says that too, because he wasn't making the, like, what are you doing type of plays throughout the season. He played very clean football, made good decisions, played tough in the pocket, delivered some awesome throws down the field. And that's really where, for me, this is a guy that's played NFL football for 3 years already, right? Yeah, you're playing NFL football at Georgia. That's really what it is. Kirby Smart ain't playing that, like, oh yeah, hey, we're just going to go out there and wing it. Like, he's not doing that.
No, you know what's amazing? They have a good offense. I mean, I don't know, Kirby Smart there for years. I'm like,
now I will say this. I know I agree with you. Georgia fans right now are saying we can't get Mike Bobo out of here fast enough. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Because Georgia fans they're at that point now too, where like they don't even know what bad football looks like. Wow. So as soon as they struggle a little bit, they're like, fire everybody except for Kirby. But that's the interesting part about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other guy I'll bring up real quick is just, it kind of hit me a little bit too, and maybe again I overdid it or whatever. It is Garrett Nussmeier.
Right.
And like I said to you, and we talked a few days ago, whatever, I said, God damn, he just makes it look, he can make it look easy.
Right.
He throws the 12-yard out or whatever you call, from one hash to the left sideline, from the right hash to, and I just go, hell, he did it like it was nothing. He put no effort into it, and all of a sudden, the ball's there. So his arm, he is freewheeling, and that's one thing in college, but boy, they'll shake that out of him quick in the NFL. Okay, right?
Yeah.
I mean, after a few practices, hey, son, look, if you're going to do that again tomorrow, then we're wasting reps.
Who is Garrett Nussmeier's NFL comparison to you
Baker Mayfield.
Now? Baker Mayfield. Okay, so I was going to say a little Sam Darnold, right? Because I see a little bit of that in his game, but I agree with you. He has a little bit more of the mentality and the approach of a Baker Mayfield.
Tough. He's tough. He can, like I said, there's his arm strength. When, he does move, I think he moves pretty well.
Yeah, agree.
His scrambling is going to be a part of his game in the NFL.
Right.
And you just, if you just really watch it, Now I guess I don't give him or didn't catch it because maybe the guy wasn't open. He was making a wrong decision.
Right.
He made the right decisions. He threw the ball great, truly great.
Yeah.
Man, he hasn't seen a receiver down the field that he doesn't think is open too.
Well, that's a little bit of why I understand why you're saying you see Baker in him too, right?
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of the pro and the con of the player. And luckily for him too, he's 6'2", so he's in a whole nother physical cat. But meanwhile, that's very funny because he looks very small to me on film at times. You know, it does seem like the offensive line, D line sometimes do kind of overwhelm or swallow him up in the pocket. So that's a little bit of a concern for me moving forward. But of course, that's like for every quarterback. It doesn't even matter if you are 6'5", right? That's just what happens in the NFL, right? The biggest thing is just kind of how you navigate those things.
I think the little thing, you said this to me, and maybe you already said it in this show here. We were talking about Fernando Mendoza, and you just go, "Oh man, you think he throws it well now? Wait till he's been in that league a little bit." And
well,
I kind of believe that too.
I agree.
He's going to loosen up a little more and have a little more body action. And he threw it. He can throw it hard, and he can spin the crap out of it. But he has the ability. It's there to really drive the ball. What I mean by that, making throws like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and he's going to have the strength and the control of the ball to be that guy. It's just a question how long will it take. I don't think it'll take real long. I
think Fernando Mendoza has the frame, the ability, and just the overall technique right now starting to where he can be as good of a thrower, right, physically, as the guy who's helping run the team, Tom Brady. I really do. I see a lot of similar traits that way, and it really just goes off of the frame, right? Tall, long arms, right? Big stride when he really wants to gear up and power through the football. And you're right. As soon as he starts to kind of just relax that upper body a little bit more, and that's just a product of being in college. If you don't do it like this, you're going to start the drill over, and it's like, but that's what it is, right? Like, it's so just that way. But like in the NFL, it's like, listen, like, take your proper steps. We don't really give a damn what you do. We just need the ball there, right, at this time. And that's what's fun, though, because that's where I think you see a lot of college guys all of a sudden evolve a little bit more. I saw Tommy DeVito go through it, right? I saw some others, right? And it's just like they got better and better as they kind of learned, oh, I don't need to be so structured with this throwing technique. I just need to have a natural feel and awareness of everything and then be able to react with my quick release. So I think that's a really cool thing. But Big Eye, any last words?
No, you talk about that Washington team from 2 years ago. You talk about breaks, which way they go. They all fell to Washington, the breaks. I mean, man, they must have won 4 games. I just go, man, how'd they win? The Hail Mary. It's one of the best receivers in football drops one to win the game.
Right.
So there were a lot of them, man.
Yeah.
Good for them. They took advantage of it.
They did.
That's it. I think, what is today? Tuesday. I got to travel for a few days. I'm looking forward to, of course, the draft. And in between now and then, I'm going to button up a little and see if I can figure out something else, about this draft and get a better feel for it.
Listen, Phil, it's April 14th. If you don't have a feel for it now, it's not going to happen.
Matt, we just did this, and I changed my damn opinion 4 times, so it could still change.
Well,
it's sad, but that's just the way it is.
That is the way it is, right? Yep. And that's what's fun about football too. There is no perfect way to construct a football team. I think that was something that Dominic Foxworth said today, right? That, is so true. There is no just one way, right, to build a football team. There's multiple ways. There's multiple avenues, being creative, right, finding the right players and the right fits and the scheme as well to go on top of that.
Right.
And, you really can't go wrong, right? So at the end of the day, it's a lot about player-led leadership within the football teams and the franchises. And then, of course, it's the coaches and putting them in a successful position more consistently than the others, right? Yep. So pretty simple game, right? No big deal.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, hey, this is Sims Complete on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. He is Matt Sims. I am Phil Sims, Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Did you screw it up or you did it on purpose?
I did it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Imagine though, that really it was a struggle for me to say that I was a Super Bowl MVP there, right?
Yeah, no, hell no, don't listen.
Well, hey, he's Phil Sims. I'm Matt
There we
Sims. This is Sims Complete on the Bleed Sports Network. Brought to you by FanDuel. And we'll be back next week for more draft breakdown one more time. All right, before we actually get to the event. And let's go Giants. All right, see you later.
go.
Toodles.
Toodles. Toodles, Matt.
Toodles.